we magically learned that you could set up document chains of approvals and route them to different people. A lot of people have got very adept at Adobe Acrobat's signature capabilities.
I want to switch gears a little bit and go 30,000 feet. You know, the pandemic that came, it caused a lot of disruption for many companies and destroyed their business. But for e-commerce, and especially companies like Amazon, business just boomed, right? Now, as you look at this pandemic and now you're reading articles about how supply chain is being constrained. If you look at this whole cycle that we are going through or are still in the process, is there something that has caught your eye in terms of business strategy changes that you have seen at e-commerce companies or companies in general when it comes to supply chain?
I think a lot of the pandemic, you know, even for Amazon, I was not with the company at the time, but I've been a long-term shareholder and have followed them. You know, if you think about when the pandemic hit, there's people like me and probably you all who've been ordering from Amazon for years. Yes. It's just a given. There are other folks who are brand new to Amazon and they could not find in their local grocery store hand sanitizer, bleach wipes, whatever they are, the cleaning supplies.
Yes,
and then they
paper.
realized,
yes,
yeah, toilet paper, right? And then there's price gouging and people just doing some unscrupulous things.
Yes.
And Amazon actually pivoted and started changing what they were storing. They started to prioritize the criticality of shipments that were sort of COVID care related.
Yes.
They were expediting those, slowing down things that we'll call non-essential items. You know, if you need a video game, that's great, but hand sanitizers, they're going to prioritize. I think it might have shifted some of the inventory position that people hold, the mix of products. You know, when times are good, maybe people hold way more inventory because they think, don't worry, people are going to buy it. Whereas if inventory space becomes more and more limited, if your workforce declined and you have less people to run your facilities, maybe you start being more strategic about the product mix or the portfolio of products you're keeping in inventory. I think that some companies might have looked at their transportation strategy when it came to the pandemic. I mean, there's always been a shortage of truck drivers, but now maybe they looked at, you know, should we have our own internal fleet or should we go with a JB Hunt or a third-party provider? You know, Walmart, for years, Walmart's had an outstanding transportation fleet of their own because they have the size and scale to do it. Most smaller companies will outsource their transportation. But I think to answer the question, the pandemic made people reevaluate some of their business continuity operations. What do we have to care for our employees? You know, Amazon immediately got involved with protecting our associates, trying to get, you know, it's still 6 feet apart in all of our facilities, full masks. When I walk into the buildings, my temperature is checked. You know, we had to worry much more about the health and welfare of our employees. Yes. We had to worry about the materials or the products we were storing because we wanted to get it to our customers. And I think while the goal of any company is to make money, I think a lot of companies might have taken a step back from profit only to really start focusing on some health, safety, and welfare, mental health as well of their associates, because there's an untold toll of what's going on with people who are working through this on the front lines. And, you know, we see those stories in the news all the time. So I think from a supply chain standpoint, those are some of the things that are top of my mind that people might be thinking about going forward.
Go ahead, Peter, please go ahead.
I've got a question along those lines from a supply chain perspective. And we had some stories like that around here at Huntsman as well. What previously unauthorized rules were broken during COVID? So for instance, you know, I heard about a company where, you know, you could only buy so much on a P card, a procurement card. But to get, you know, PPE, one company ended up saying, you know what, if you can find some PPE, some masks, buy it on the P card and there's no limit, just go get it. And normally we would vet a supplier and make sure they're on contract and all those kind of things. But perhaps what rules were broken and then what was learned from those things from a more agile concept?
Well, I'll give you the first answer from my academic side, because when the pandemic hit, I was still a professor, right?
Yes.
We have had paperwork processes that had to be done on paper forever. We have had limits, exactly what you're talking about, Peter. When the pandemic hit and we weren't allowed to teach in person, and we were still trying to graduate students, and we were trying to do travel reimbursements, the university got, out of necessity, much more automated. We magically learned that you could set up document chains of approvals and route them to different people. A lot of people have got very adept at Adobe Acrobat's signature capabilities. So the university benefited by automating many paper processes that for no reason had to be that way. I think that some of the rules that got broken, I would guess, would be exactly what you're talking about. I'm not on the buying side of Amazon, but I would think that maybe we want to have a full truck before we send it. But if there was health critical items, we probably sent the half empty truck, because you know what? It needs to get there more than we need to worry about a KPI that we're tracking. I don't have firsthand knowledge of that, but that makes a lot of sense to me. To your PPE example, makes it very much rings true. You know, if we needed face masks, or, you know, my wife operates a preschool. You can't get rubber gloves anymore. When she finds them, literally the price is up 400% from where it was a year ago. And I don't believe there's a rubber shortage in the world, or a nylon or latex or whatever the material is. It's supply and demand. And you've got to be aware of price gouging. I get it. But I think part of the things that got broken, they were done for the right reasons, for the health and safety of people. It wasn't, let's go make a buck by raising our prices. I'm sure people broke those rules, but we're not going to talk about that because we all believe that's just very unscrupulous.
Yeah. I heard about companies that said, well, we got a plant, they want these masks, they want this particular kind. Sometimes it was down to, for this company I heard about, do you want a mask, period? And these are the ones we've got, right, and we're going to get them going to your direction. A mask versus no mask, those kind of things. And you do have to revert back to clear requirements, like I've talked about in my book and some other things, but you got to make some decisions and be agile. So thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Absolutely.